What do you miss the most from pre-COVID? Not having to talk about the same damn thing all the time. This is a major pet peeve of mine as well. Seeing people is already harder, but when I do see them, it's not as fun because we met up 2 weeks ago, and literally nothing new happened. No trips, no spontaneous ideas, a lot less travel, and no unexpected meetups. I've been dating, and I think over half of my dates have had a near burnout in the past year. Last year, I met up with a friend and she said, "Oh yeah, I already know everything you want to say. I saw your housemate last week," and she was goddamn right. It sucks. Talking to my dad on the phone, I'm like, "Sorry, I'm boring. Literally nothing is happening here. Wake up, do schoolwork, eat food, go to bed, repeat." If it's an exciting day, we go for a walk or get groceries. Ugh, I'm so sick of COVID. I miss the fact of just being sick without any other kind of concern. I have chronic but mild reflux, which irritates my throat, causing me to feel the need to clear it. Every other week it's been, is this cough the normal cough or COVID? Having seasonal allergies is a nightmare from a social grace perspective. Sneezing is like firing a blank in a crowd. Making appointments of various kinds. Medical, dental, renewing driver's licenses and such, and especially vet appointments, seems like a huge hassle now, and sometimes the next free slot is weeks or months out. My favorite California burrito place. They're gone. They were jammed in a small space in a strip mall, but their prices and quality kicked the crap out of the competition. I put one of their paper menus in my filing cabinet so I will always remember them. It was El Amigo in Imperial Beach, San Diego. Rip all of the places I didn't get to try because pre-COVID. I was like, oh, I can go there whenever. No rush. Just think, I retired in January of 2020 thinking, great, I'll be able to travel the country now. Deaf person able to communicate with people without a mask, so I can see their face and read their lips. I've been feeling lonely. Lower prices. Housing went up. Food as well, prices of petrol, electricity, and heating are through the roof. It feels like I'm buying groceries at the airport. I miss not thinking about everything as pre-COVID. Before the pandemic, I usually just thought of past events as past events, but now I often find myself labeling everything from 2019 and back as, oh, that was before COVID. It's sad that the pandemic has gotten to the point where it defines your entire life. I'm the exact same way. Everything is now organized as pre-COVID, early COVID, or current COVID in my head right now. The weird thing for me is that the definition of early COVID keeps changing. By the summer of 2020, it felt like we had been in COVID for a very long time, but now that solidly is in the early COVID stage. The certainty, and even if life was uncertain in its own way, it was never this uncertain. Got a holiday booked for 6 months' time? 99.9% of you'd get to do it. Got a wedding to look forward to? Yeah, that was going to happen. Now we can't even be certain that there's anything to look forward to. Being present-minded, here and now sort of mentality. The last 2 years feel like I've paused things waiting for this pandemic to blow over, but the more time passes, the more I feel like I'm just wasting away, if that makes any sense. Working from home and rarely leaving the house has me losing track of time and find myself having trouble recognizing the date or day of the week. Live music, going to shows, not having foggy glasses all the time from mask wearing, this. I went to a gig in December and it felt like a shot of cocaine through my system. It was unreal. I forgot what it was like to dance and sing and enjoy music. Understanding what people say. I've had bad hearing loss and I rely hard on reading lips far more than I realized. Now that everyone is wearing a mask and their voice is slightly muffled, I'm constantly asking people to repeat themselves. I moved to Toronto during COVID. This city is full of immigrants, which is great, but I have such a hard time understanding store clerks here through their masks, through their accents, through a plexiglass barrier. I feel so bad saying, "What?" 3 times in a row to someone who probably gets that all the time. I found people are usually really receptive to, "I can't hear well, can you speak slower?" I have auditory processing disorder, and sometimes it's virtually impossible to understand someone even without an accent. In-person classes. Before COVID, I took a drawing class and a sewing class, etc. Now it's so much harder to try out a new hobby. The problem is that in isolation, you have more time to try out new hobbies, but you're too exhausted from how upsetting the world is to have the discipline to keep up those hobbies in isolation. I try not to feel guilty about letting myself do nothing for a while if I feel overwhelmed. Casually popping into restaurants. not living in a constantly changing system. Pre-COVID, everything was scheduled. School holidays, places were open to visit, but since COVID, everything that has to do with the government is constantly changing. I just miss being on stable ground. Vacations. I had one booked for tail end of March 2020. Literally got canceled on me about a week prior. I miss vacations and being able to travel. All the restaurants that went out of business. Tried and true ramen shops, Chino Cubano hole-in-the-walls, classic Italian fare, the underrated Mediterranean fusion spot that always gave you a little extra hummus without you asking, all the places my fiance and I used to get lost in, they're all gone. It really sucks. As much as I dislike Walmart, damn do I miss them and other stores being open late at night. All of my night shift friends have suffered and have been forced to only shop on days off. I used to go to Walmart at around 11 p.m. anytime I needed something, and it was so much better. I could get everything I wanted right away, and if I was bored, I could gander at stuff in electronics. No lines, no assholes, usually shelves were stocked, or the pallets were sitting in the aisles and I could grab what I needed and boom, all done. Now it's a hassle every time because everyone needs to fit their shopping in during fewer hours. I bet that hasn't helped with spreading the virus by making more people come together in a shorter amount of time. Being excited about the future. A normal university experience. Where I live, many universities have been mostly virtual since March of 2020, so the community and social aspects of the university have been almost entirely absent. My grandparents. My waistline. Traveling internationally. Socialization. It's so hard to make friends right now, I feel very isolated. Same, and I'm struggling to keep in touch with my existing friends. Even texting is an effort, and it feels like I've run out of things to talk about. I have no idea how to socialize anymore. Not directly thinking about the worst thing ever when I hear someone cough. Not feeling like society is a joke, honestly. The pandemic really hit home that we are all just making it up as we go along and no one knows what they're doing. My sister. I haven't seen her in person since the start as she works abroad. Sure, we video chat, but 2 years is a long time to not see someone in person. As a person who works nights, stores, and restaurants that are open late, I used to be able to get out of work at whatever hour and have a dozen different grocery stores and fast food restaurants I could stop at on the way home. And now, 2 years after the pandemic, I have only 1 or 2, and sometimes they'll be closed anyway for whatever reason. Really living. This feels just like existing. I'm stuck with this overwhelming feeling of ennui. Bored with food, bored with TV, bored with social media, bored with books. I guess I miss not having a stack of inconveniences that have to be dealt with in order to do public things. It's not that any one inconvenience is too much, but it's just so many little things. Amen to that. All the little things add up. Spontaneity. Pre-COVID, if I wanted to go to a store or restaurant, I went. I didn't have to check its COVID hours, mask requirements, whether it was open for just pickup, etc. Easy travel. Pre-COVID, I used to head either overseas or interstate often, with minimal planning needed. I renewed my passport in December of 2019, so that was an unnecessary cost considering. Feeling like I could trust people to do the right thing. Regular doctor appointments. No, I do not want to do my annual OBGYN visit through a video. I'm pretty sure that's how you get XXX. Wait, not trying to be crude here, but did they really offer that as an option? An OBGYN exam over video chat? That does seem insane to me. It was years ago that I started seeing these ads on the bus from the sexual health clinic in my area. A little privacy? Get checked for STDs online. And every time I saw it, I thought, how can that work? Because I couldn't imagine that sending a video to a doctor would be more comfortable than going in person with no cameras around. Next to it was the PSA that receiving nudes from someone does not give you the right to share them with other people. A little reminder that digital images are hackable and infinitely reproducible. My friends. I went from the most socially active person on the planet to a lonely guy. Some got engaged and disappeared. Lots of them went away for work, and others simply disappeared. And knowing new people is hard as hell nowadays. These things all happened even before, but the pandemic really got them bigger. God only knows how badly I'd go back in time. This. I still talk with my really close friends, but I had so many friendships dissipate during the pandemic because we just couldn't really hang out and didn't bother to keep in touch. It sucks. I spent most of my time at home now. My optimism for the future. My husband works in healthcare. I miss when the smile would reach his eyes. Uber pool. I used to always be able to get cheap Ubers with it and rarely had anyone else ride with me. Hugging people without any concerns. I used to try to be mindful of my waste, and for the most part, other people did too. But I use so many disposable masks and wet wipes now, and I feel really bad about it. Y'all are saying this comment is ignorant. It's not. My job and federal clients straight up refuse to allow us to use cloth masks. We have to use N95 or better. Not having constantly changing rules. This is an underrated one because it impacts just about everything else. Is indoor dining allowed this week? Is there a limit to the number of people gathering? How far in advance do I need to test to travel? Do I need a PCR or some other test? Is alcohol still allowed for pickup? At least with the lockdowns, you were inside and that was it. Now you have options for going out and doing things, but you have to keep up to date on the ever-changing requirements just to enjoy small activities. To add a little depth to your comment, having to worry about all those things constantly is another unnecessary bit of stress, and this stress doesn't have a defined end in sight. I'm currently in my first year of college. I hope next year I'll finally have some classes in the actual college instead of my bedroom. In my last year in my bachelor's program, undergraduate, and I switched colleges right before the pandemic hit. So not only have I removed myself from a wonderful group of people in my previous college, whom I'd gotten close to, I've also spent the greatest part of my degree with people I've only ever talked to online, except a couple that I did meet once. Talk about bad decisions. Wearing lipstick. Vain, I know, but I'm not a makeup girl, and loved wearing lipstick. I have about 40 lipsticks sitting in a basket under my sink, totally unused for 2 years and probably not usable anymore. Little things like this, yes, vain, I know, eventually add up and just seem to kind of suck a lot of joy out of life. And before anyone goes mental on this comment, I know this is trivial compared to all of the struggles people have had. And I'm not comparing, just expressing a little thing that I miss. I threw out hundreds of dollars worth of makeup a few weeks ago. It broke my heart, but it was all very, very expired. I have no intention of repurchasing any of it and just decided to focus on skincare a little more since I have to wear a mask 9 hours a day, and my skin hates it. Maybe it is trivial, but we're still allowed to be upset, damn it. I can be upset about a lot of things, big and small, all at once. Honestly, out of everything, I just miss being able to go out and be in public without having an "am I going to catch a horrible virus?" panic in the back of my mind all the time. I miss being able to relax. I haven't felt relaxed outside of my home in 2 years. Seeing and spending time with my mom, who passed away in December of 2020. Everything. This pandemic ruined every aspect of my life. I miss the person I was before my mental breakdown last year. I miss being able to have friends, to date, and to have at least some kind of optimism about the future. Life is a living hell right now, every waking moment. I miss spontaneous hangouts at friends' houses, hugs, random makeouts, vacations, only having my existing chronic pain/illness and not worrying about one more long-term illness. People weren't as angry. My faith that most people are basically kind. Travel, low anxiety, people hanging out without a care, and laughing and crap. Seeing people smile or laugh. Actual menus in restaurants and not scanning a QR code to read a non-mobile friendly menu. Buffets! COVID made me realize how effing disgusting buffets are, and that is coming from someone who loved them pre-COVID. Ick. Being able to go places and not worry about a mask. Also being able to go places and see smiling faces and just happy people in general. I miss the happy people. Not having to take out my phone and show a QR code to eat chicken nuggets. Being able to get on a plane to Australia to visit my boyfriend. Haven't seen him since November of 2019. Reading all these comments made me even sadder. Me too, but also it made me feel less alone. It's not that I want everyone to be as miserable as me, but last night I had a complete sadness breakdown, and it's kinda like a support group reading these comments. Not knowing how dumb many of my friends/coworkers really are. Medium-level friendships. People I was very close with, I put in the effort to stay close to. The exhaustion of video calls was worth it to keep them in my life consistently. I'd let go of a lot of very surface-level friendships that I don't really miss. People I saw at work sometimes, or hung out with mostly because we knew the same people. They were cool people, but we just weren't really part of each other's lives. I missed the friendships in the middle. The people I went to college or grad school with that would get together around the holidays or for weddings. People I wouldn't really see weekly or anything, but it would be worth a weekend trip to share an activity. I tried doing video call game nights with them too when this all started, but you can only do so many hours on Zoom in a week before it just isn't fun to even see friends, and we fell out of touch. I've been trying to find ways to reconnect in recent months, and it's helped a lot. Just the public in general. I feel like I'm in a prison at my home sometimes. I miss travel. Plan to work for a year and then head to New Zealand after uni for a year of travel. I graduated in November and then COVID hit in April. Even 2 years later, I haven't managed to save as nearly as I'd originally liked due to being made redundant and unemployed for a while, but I'm hoping to head over there in August, COVID depending. School. As a parent, watching my kids struggle through a full year of virtual school and struggling to catch up to where they need to be is heartbreaking. Teachers won't admit to the parents, but I heard from a teaching assistant that this year's first graders are basically preschoolers. They missed the latter half of preschool and pre-K and had virtual kindergarten last year, which is so inappropriate for that age group. And so kids who are generally 6, turning 7, are academically aligned with the 5-year-olds. Collective sanity. Concerts, music festivals. I was looking up tickets for June 2022 and couldn't help but feel very, very uncomfortable. I probably won't go, even though I really want to. Spur of the moment pub. God, I miss the pub. Actually having a life. No shutdowns, no masks, no curfews, no restrictions, no COVID testing, just to travel. Normal, everyday anxiety and not the overwhelming feeling that something bad is going to happen every single day. The feeling of not being afraid of other people. The naive idea that we as a society could come together in times of need against a significant external threat. I miss how anti-vax people were just a very small, insignificant group of upper-middle-class moms that we all ignored. Going to a restaurant and getting to eat my meal as it comes piping hot to the table from the kitchen, not eating it lukewarm while on my couch 10 to 15 minutes after picking it up from the to-go counter. My dog. I mean, she didn't die from COVID, but she passed at the beginning. Everything was a lot less politicized. People got along much better and families were closer. The world changed in a bad way in 2020, and the effects still linger. They'll linger a long time until people realize we aren't each other's enemy. It's the tyrants who want to consolidate power and wealth who are the real enemy to overcome. People talking about other things, different things, talking about random events, and how was your weekend? Now it feels like every conversation eventually leads to COVID and politics in the US, and I have to put on a ton of effort not to trigger anything that could lead to it. Also, just the whole mask and vaccine debate is tiresome. I'm tired of people in my community constantly bringing it on and cracking jokes about me choosing to be vaccinated and wear a mask. I'm tired of having to explain myself and defend science. Generally speaking, I just miss not having anxiety and just enjoying life in general. Going to musicals. I'm your stereotypical gay. I can't function properly without them. I really just miss work being less stressful. I work in a nursing home as a nurse's aide, and we're always on pins and needles just waiting for the next outbreak. PPE is so goddamn exhausting to wear, especially in the summer. I'd go out of one patient's room and rip the gowns off Hulk style and then have to go right into another room without much chance to air out. And I just really miss not having something on my face all the time. I'm sick of seeing my residents die of this crap. We had one patient who was critically ill that we couldn't send out because there wasn't a single hospital in the state who could take him. They were too full. Freedom. I miss not having to think about things. Now every time I do anything, I have to run mental calculations of what's the risk. Is it necessary? Are the people being careful/vaccinated and boosted? It's exhausting. I've looked back at photos and gotten flashes of memories of how fun and happy life was, how I could go out freely and make plans. It's pretty surreal remembering my mindset before everything. Getting sick was literally inconceivable, and if I did, it just came and went. Now it's as important as remembering my phone, wallet, and keys when I leave the house. Who knows how long it'll take until this lifestyle is a distant memory. On a side note, if anyone's struggling, please seek help. You're important to someone, if not now, then soon. Definitely live music, both performing and as an audience member. Also restaurants/bars with my friends. I didn't go out often, but it was nice to just randomly decide we were going out for a drink tonight. I really don't mind the masks, especially during cold/flu season on a crowded bus or metro, but I have a beard now and want to show it off. I also miss hugging people without worrying and sharing food and drinks and joints. Being left alone for having a mild cough. I swear people treat me like I have the Black Plague because I have a lingering cough. Being able to criticize the stupid decisions made by every character in any zombie/outbreak movie. As it turns out, the terrible decisions in those movies are accurate. Living, simply living. Taking my son to the local kids museum. The optimism that one day I'd be able to afford a house of my own. My partner just recently got a new job that pays significantly more than her previous one, and I'm lined up to get one even more lucrative. 2 years ago, these jobs would have bought us a very nice house in an upper middle class neighborhood. Today, we can barely afford a starter house in the worst parts of town. I live in Palm Beach. We don't have COVID here. At least, you'd think that based on how everyone is living. The belief is that people would pull together and do the right thing if there were some big disaster to strike. In movies, you always see all of humanity working together to defeat the aliens, and everyone has pretty much the same goal: the survival of the species. It turns out that there's a lot of people who will do the exact opposite of whatever the right thing is and make an entire identity out of it. They're willing to die for that identity so long as it pisses someone else off, which wouldn't be a huge problem except they tend to take others down with them. Going away and visiting new places. Granted, in summer I traveled, but only by car and ate primarily outside. When I had to eat or do something inside, it was so stressful. Since summer, I've stopped eating out. Also going to movie theaters. Yes, I could sit there for the 2 or so hours with a mask, but I like popcorn too much. Seeing people generally happy around the holidays. Yeah, Christmas has become something to survive rather than to celebrate. Believing in humans. That getting a vaccine was the norm, and people didn't need to do their own research and instead trusted scientists. Is nothing an option? Since COVID hit, my situation has been improving. It sucks because I wish it didn't work out this way, but I love the increased access to curbside and delivery options. I like people wearing masks in public, and it cut down on traffic in this area due to fewer tourists. I hate that so many people are having a terrible time, so I generally feel just guilty about the past 2 years being incredibly positive on my end. New job, cut 80 pounds, made new friends, reconnected with old ones, found old hobbies and picked up new ones, handled my mental health while I had time, got off most social media, etc. Not wearing masks, not seeing people's faces is kind of sad to me. This might sound weird, but going to funerals. I have had several elderly extended family members pass in the last 2 years. People that raised me, people I loved with all my heart. It would have been nice closure to go say goodbye with comfort and be comforted by family, but out of caution, there have been no services. Rest in peace, you incredible aunts and uncles. Being happy. I haven't felt actual happiness in almost 2 years. Sometimes I feel content and calm with the situation, but I feel like I haven't felt happy, just occasionally pleased. Being married, just a coincidence, but still. A lot of relationships met their breaking point in the past 2 years, it seems. Being able to travel without the restrictions and anxiety we have today. Being blissfully unaware of how anti-science and willfully ignorant so many people are, even when it comes to human life. My best friend, she passed due to cancer. I wasn't able to see her due to COVID. I didn't get to say goodbye. People were a lot nicer before COVID. I'd maybe have a confrontation once a month or so. Road rage driver, someone cuts in line at the coffee shop, someone has a meltdown. Now it's multiple times a week. You can't keep a 3 to 6 foot distance from people in line because someone will cut in front of you. When you call them out on it, they call you rude or tell you to shut up that they're on the phone. Road rage has gone through the roof. I thought maybe I was being a bad driver, but no. Tons of the guys at work say the same thing. People in SUVs and big trucks have cranked it up a notch in the asshole category. The amount of customer service people I've seen being shouted at is mind-boggling. No wonder they're quitting in droves. People who are doing that need to be kicked out of the stores and not served. It's the only way they will get the message that it's not acceptable behavior. Most restaurants and businesses being fully staffed. As an introvert, nothing at all? If anything, this has made the world vastly better for me. I don't have to travel or go do stuff I don't want to do. My kid is in cyber school now, so I get him half the time instead of every other weekend. And no work trips or dealing with extended family drama. Oh, wait, I miss lumber being cheap. The liveliness of life. Things just felt more connected. I miss seeing people's faces. If you were single before the pandemic, you are especially single now. Fully committing to hug someone or handshake someone, instead of both of you being 50-50 while going for it and asking in the middle of the awkward chaos if they do handshakes or hugs, and then both just defeatingly pound it or just wave goodbye. Going out for lunch with my sister. I visit her and she visits me, but we used to go out for lunch once a fortnight, and I miss that. Finding and trying new cafes and not being worried about it. Meeting new people is so much harder, and I was never particularly good at that sort of thing in the first place. 2 of my favorite restaurants couldn't survive the initial shutdown and closed their doors. Not part of a chain, so they're just gone. Never thought I would say this, but small talk with coworkers. Dating. I don't leave the house anymore, so I don't meet people in the wild, and I don't trust the people on Tinder to actually be safe. I had a few Zoom dates early on, but they fizzled out when I wasn't willing to hook up after a 20-minute video chat. Pre-COVID, I thought people were smarter and less selfish, and I felt like I could trust being around both family and strangers. That ignorance was blissful. Now I have realized people don't care about others. People are intolerant of others' comfort levels. People are more willing to guilt others into action, and a person with 5 minutes of Facebook research thinks they are more qualified to speak than a doctor with 20 years of experience. People have become inherently more selfish, and now I can't even trust my own family, let alone a complete stranger. Just being able to go wherever I wanted without having to worry. I took it for granted so much. I'll never do that again if we ever get the chance to go back to normal. When we didn't know how corrupt the government and most of mankind is. Thanks for watching until the end. If you have an example you'd like to give, please do so in the comments below. Then be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you know when our next video is available. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.